Welcome into One-on-One, normally with DP. He's in Atlanta right now, traveling, getting set up for the Supernovas on the road at the Atlanta Vibe. That'll be tomorrow. DP and Rico are out. So it's me, Austin Norman, filling in here for the next hour, joined by our friends at Union Bank and Trust. Financial Literacy Month is upon us here in the month of April. Lots and lots to get to here with our special guests. Thanks to Soulful Cocina for sponsoring One-on-One with DP. Without further ado, let's turn our attention to our guests from Union Bank and Trust, starting with you, Brittany. Welcome in. We are so glad to have you. Thank you for your flexibility and scheduling. And Sarah, say hi to you. You're there for moral support.
Hi, thanks for having us.
Of course. Now, you're both radio newbies, I was told.
Yes.
Is that correct?
It's true. The rumors are true. I'm an experienced veteran, not my first rodeo.
Perfect. The butterflies flapping in your stomach?
Yes.
Good?
I'm glad I have an emotional support coworker here.
Indeed. The emotional support, the financial support, though, is what we're here to talk about, right? With Union Bank and Trust and everything they're doing here to teach young adults, student athletes, people like me who weren't in the athletics realm about what it means to, be financially literate. So let's dive into that. But first, Brittany, let's start with you. Tell us about yourself. How did you get to Union Bank and what's your role?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm first-gen student. I'm a proud Husker alumna. I graduated from the College of Education and Human Sciences, but my parents didn't even graduate from high school. And I would say a lot of what I learned about money was through, lived experiences and sometimes failure. And so while, failure can be a great teacher, I think if we can avoid failure because we have education, that's even more powerful. So I taught for a while, and then I transitioned into the field of higher ed. I worked at UNLV in Las Vegas, and then I also worked at UNL and Creighton, pretty much all in student advising and student success. So helping students kind of navigate how to be successful during college, manage their finances, understand financial aid and the FAFSA. And that kind of brought me here into UBT and doing community financial wellness. So really love what I do, and I'm glad to be able to help people in the community kind of every day with their money management skills.
Is money the same in Lincoln as it is in Las Vegas?
Oh, gosh. Money's everywhere in Las Vegas. It is like a big, small town. A lot of it is who you know. There's a big power of handshakes still, right?
You also said something that will resonate with our sports audience, Nebraska and Creighton. Are you a J-sker?
I'm a proud J-sker. I know it's so bad, right? You can throw tomatoes. It's fine. I can claim both, right?
DP did this on purpose. He left town on purpose because I am so anti-J-sker. So I'll put my bias aside because your message supersedes sports. But DP, he wins again.
I know, it's so taboo, right?
It is.
She's a very sweet J-sker, though.
And here's the thing, you're wearing red. So I think your loyalties are really with Nebraska, right?
Yes.
Truly?
Yes.
Excellent. Let's go to this. Let's learn a little bit more about you too, because you mentioned, learning in the real world, right? So I think when you're passionate about something, it means something to you. Either it's because it's all you've ever known, it's comfortable, it's familiar, or it's something that's fresh, that's new, that you're really excited about. You mentioned kind of learning your own kind of financial literacy in the real world. Take us kind of back through your journey personally of some financial literacy learning.
Oh, gosh. I don't know how many of you have had a money problem that turned into a bigger money problem. I think all of us have that story, right? I would say mine was my first week of school, actually, at Nebraska Lincoln. I ran out of gas right in front of the student union. And, I didn't have emergency savings. And so that was kind of a first lesson, but essentially, had I had emergency savings, I could have pulled from that, to fill up with gas. And so I guess lesson one is that I missed work. So that was, a $50 shift. And now I had to have my car towed. So that was $300. I didn't have that. So I put it on a credit card. By the time this is all said and done, and when I got my car back and paid off this credit card bill, like in total, I had spent $750 some odd dollars. So it was just, I think, a lived experience of like just having a cushion could really, put you in a lot of better spot. So I kind of lead with that of, just a quick money story of those money problems that turn into other money problems. But I think that it's something that's relatable to people and talking about, what can we do to get to financial well-being? What does that mean? Where do we start? So
you mentioned being a first-gen student as well. Are you from Nebraska? Are you around the area? How far were you from home, dealing with this big money struggle?
Oh gosh. So I have family that's from Louisville, in between Omaha and Lincoln. And so at least family somewhat close, but still far enough away, I think, where you don't have that immediate, I need help right now, here and now. So yeah, I think that, when you don't know where to turn, you end up turning to maybe not the best solutions, like for example, like credit card debt to pay for things. And you don't know what you don't know. And so hindsight's always 2020. And so I think that financial education is really important. If I can help somebody else avoid mistakes and failure, I think through that education, that's really, the goal.
Hindsight's 2020. It's also 750, apparently, in your case. And we'll get more into
Right.
into some of those topics you mentioned with the credit card debt, avoiding that, and everything that goes into that. But let's just talk kind of broadly about Financial Literacy Month. How did that start, and why does it mean so much to Union Bank?
Oh gosh, Financial Literacy Month is definitely a national initiative, which is great. So there's quite a few things happening. American Bankers Association as well. There's things that we're doing just across the country. So I'm glad that Union Bank is a part of just national, Financial Literacy Month. But I would say that it's really just bringing awareness that, financial health is health, and so that's an important part of our overall well-being. And so I think that the more that we can, take care of that area, the better off that we're going to be. So I think it just brings that into the light a little bit more. I think with Financial Literacy Month, we try to reach, broader audiences. I enjoy talking to children. I think even our older adults, our senior citizens, but just kind of being visible and letting people know that through UBT, this is a free service for nonprofits. So, we're happy to host a class, a workshop, and just trying to get out in front of more people and bring awareness to financial literacy.
What are some of those main tenets that you're stressing here during Financial Literacy Month that are important for people to grasp hold of?
Yeah, I think step one is just, get a baseline of where are you, a barometer of your own financial health. I think that where you're starting is where you're starting, and that's okay. But if we don't even know where we're starting, I feel like that's kind of step one. So I think just like having the hunger, I think, for knowledge, that's a good starting place. So I tell people, step one is really just taking a look at your budget, figuring out what income do I have coming in? What are my expenses? Is that balanced? Is that less? Is it more? How much do I have left over, if any? And so I think that for some people, this can be really profound. It might be the first time they've ever really looked at their finances. So I think just building a basic budget is kind of step one. And then from there, it helps to, I think, set financial goals. Like, what do you want your money to do? Because it's hard to make a plan, for saving or anything else from there. So that's a key tenet, budgeting for sure. Financial goal setting, understanding credit, managing debt, building emergency savings. I feel like that is just having a cushion is just really, really important. I feel like that reduces so many other money problems. So yes.
Throughout the show, I think here at the Ticket, we're most aware of your initiatives with young adults, with student athletes, especially, here in a college town, just down the block from the university. So a lot of our conversations coming up will really focus on that young adult aspect. But before we get to that in segments to come, what are those financial literacy conversations with kids? Like, what are they able to wrap their minds around, and how important is it to build that foundation in elementary school even?
Oh gosh, I think, I think meeting kids where they're at too in their own development. I'm not going to be talking about investing the same way that I would with a college students, but I think like explaining, how, money can grow more money, or even with, I think, an elementary student, like which is bigger or which is worth more, a nickel or a dime. And they're always like, well, a nickel because it's bigger. So it's like we talk about, just understanding money. And it's funny to me because I think because we've gone so much to using plastic that kids just don't really touch cash anymore. So they get really excited just to see like notes. I mean, I bring in bills and coins, and especially old stuff. They like to see that, but it's fun to get it in their hands and have them explore that and get to touch it. And we talk about money and history. And so it kind of gets kids excited just about money, and then saving, that there's joy in that. And so I feel like that's kind of like what I would start with, is just basic money stuff with elementary school kids, getting them excited to, learn about money and understand that, what does a bank do? How is this exciting? So
The other end of that spectrum of the age scale, at least, is then, senior citizens or retirement age people. Is retirement a big focus of financial literacy, at the end of a career? Or what are some of those, goals that you like to work with people at, maybe as they inch closer to retirement age?
Yeah. To be honest, it's a lot of scam and frauds. So
a lot of Nigerian princes.
Yes. Oh gosh. Yeah. I mean, and it's so sad because you see your grandparents and everybody else, right? But we've had people that have lost, stories of people, I guess, that, that have told me, I've lost $10,000 because I wired money to somebody that I thought was, kidnapping my grandson. And so you just hear these, horror stories and such sad stories that, are clearly a scam. But you don't know what you don't know. And so I think it's definitely a population I'm trying to do more to reach out to, and just talking about fraud and scam awareness. Your bank is never going to call you unsolicited and ask for your social security number, and the IRS is not going to call you. So I think just bringing awareness of what the scams are that are out there, and also just a lot of cell phone education. Don't answer numbers that you don't know. Hang up. You can always ask more questions later. Call the bank back if you're not sure. So yes, it's a lot of education there.
Money's been around since the dawn of civilization. It's a tool, it's a resource, but some people weaponize it. Just hypothetically, do you think that like our generation is going to fall for fewer scams because, we've maybe seen more of them, they're out there and we're more technologically savvy? Or are scammers going to get smarter and be able to find new tricks to convince people, do you think?
Yeah. I mean, in the past, I feel like you could always tell a scam text because there's bad spelling, bad grammar. It's obvious. But, with Chat GPT and just a lot of AI, it's really, it can be really hard to tell, what's reality and what's not. And so I feel like scammers are getting more sophisticated. So it's a new frontier, I think, for everybody, for those, I think, in law enforcement, but also, in the financial industry too. Like, how do we combat this? So, definitely a bigger conversation, but something that, we're paying attention to, of how do we continue to keep up with the education when everything continues to become more sophisticated. We're kind of trying to beat them at their own game, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. You talk about your real world education, and even scams, I think, kind of fall into that, trial by fire, learn the hard way. Financial literacy, again, kind of as an outsider, kind of seems like a topic that would be, maybe easiest to learn or have the lessons sink in just a very real world sense.
Yes.
But how important is it to have the classroom piece alongside?
Oh, it's very important because while I feel like the classroom can't always replicate like real life and point in time information, I think, some things make more sense in the moment, right? I can talk about credit a lot to a high school student, but until they actually have received a credit card application or they're applying for the first time, they'll remember a nice lady that talked to them about credit, but it just doesn't sink in quite the same way as that point in time lived experience that's happening. But that's not to say that it isn't useful. I think when you hear it from multiple sources across time, it really sinks in. And so I think classroom education is really important. And I think it's not just, well, we covered this one and done. I just think it's, how do we weave this into, other areas of other curriculum besides just say business or consumer sciences? How do we continue to provide that across lots of different topics and subjects, and also in other spaces outside of school? I think education happens, even outside the classroom, churches, community groups. There's lots of places where youth live and where they are outside of the schoolroom. How can, we bridge that message of financial wellness, even outside the classroom for continued learning?
I think it's easy for that classroom setting for, even like in my career, I got to do projects that I recorded, edited ahead of time, and I didn't get laughed at live on air, right? That's a confidence builder, pretty stress-free reps. The thing is, sciences, where you can do experiments, you can miss a cut on a cadaver and you're fine. I think the same applies to business too, where maybe it's harder because, like you said, with cash going away, so much of money is just kind of floating out there. It's more a concept than tangible. But I feel like that's maybe an overlooked part of financial literacy, is having that safe space, setting up scenarios where you can fail, you can make the wrong choice, you can see the ramification of and the consequences of these decisions without actually feeling that fire under your tush in the real world.
Oh, absolutely. I think, storytelling is so important too, I think, in this space. I think that, we can talk about a lot of things related to personal finance, but when people hear a story of, I got scammed and this is what happened, or I fell into a lot of credit card debt and this is what happened, it resonates so much more. And so I think when I think people are able to share that human side, whether it's teachers or just adultier adults who have had lived experiences, like share that with your youth. I think that's important. I think that youth are listening and they want to hear those stories. They remember that and latch on to that. But yeah, I think back to classroom learning too, even with science. I mean, there's so many cool things that you can do with financial literacy. I remember turning a penny gold in chemistry, and I thought that was really cool.
Was it worth more?
I don't know. I still have it someplace in my stuff. But even like you could have history lessons with it. So, I mean, there's so much that you can do. So, yeah, back to your point, it can cross into, multiple, I guess, areas. And I think that's something that it can sometimes be compartmentalized. I think, which is like, that's just a business education thing. And it's like, no, this is just a life skill. We need to put this out there for, other curriculum too.
And I can appreciate you being on the radio and talking about it and making it part of your day job because, the cliche is, money's a sensitive topic. It's touchy. We don't like to talk about it. So I think in the real world, it's a lot of comparison. You feel, either an inflated sense of pride because of it, or you feel less than if you don't have quite as much. But it is important. It's a part of our daily lives. So that's why I appreciate and want you to talk about just how important it is to have these money conversations, even if and especially if they're tough.
Oh yeah, it's so weird, right? That we're so taboo about not talking about money. And it's like that only hurts us, truly. I mean, we don't want to talk about money, but it's like, how do we learn from each other or normalize that a lot of us just didn't get the money memo, right? I feel like there's this like shame or blame or like, am I the only one who doesn't get what's happening here? Like, I don't understand what a CD is. Is that Britney Spears mixtape or is that something with banking? I'm not really sure. I think the more that we talk about our money experiences, and I also think, having that vulnerability to share, like, I don't know what's going on. I need help. And other people are more likely to say, yeah, me too. I don't understand what's going on. But I think, talking about money and getting people to open up, I find that, their experiences tend to be more validated, especially in like a group setting when I'm doing a lot of workshops, that other people feel a little bit less alone. And it's also a great opportunity, I think, for people to share resources and different perspectives. And I mean, I learn about money every single day too. And as a facilitator, I can say the same thing many times, but I always learn something from somebody that shared their own lived experiences. And if somebody knows of a resource or they have a story to share that's able to help somebody else, I mean, that's really a powerful thing. That's empowering when other people in our workshops are able to lift one another up as we're going through this process. I mean, that's pretty fantastic.
Before we get out of here, I want to give both of you, Brittany, starting with you, then Sarah, a chance to talk up Union Bank. Why should people trust Union Bank with their money and their tough money conversations?
Yeah, I think, what I love about Union Bank, for one, is that, we're local here, which is great. We have local experts, but we have people to help in a lot of different areas. And so whether it's banking or it's financial literacy or, wealth management, if you need help, if you have NIL stuff, we have a lot of people local here that kind of understand Nebraska. We understand Lincoln. We understand the lived experiences of a student too. We're the bank on campus. And so I think that that's really powerful, that there's just a lot of people willing to help. We're part of this community as employees just as much as our students. So we want our young people to succeed. And so I think that that's, a good reason.
Yeah, I think Brittany covered a lot of it. But I would just say too, back to the point that you guys were talking about, that sometimes it's kind of a taboo subject, is, the people that work at the bank are people. And they have the same lived experiences. They have the same things that they've gone through. They are moms and dads and aunts and uncles and brothers and sisters too. And so, they are people that are going to be welcoming and want to have those conversations and want to help you either get over a problem that you're having or achieve a goal that you have.
That's awesome. Great first segment. Plenty more to talk about as we're in Financial Literacy Month. A couple great guests from Union Bank and Trust with us here on 93.7 The Ticket. This is One-on-One. Austin Norman in for DP. We'll be right back with more.
Community means something different to everyone. But for me, it means cheering on those around you during the good times and helping them out during the tough times. I'm softball player Jordy Ball, and I've been blessed with the support of my friends, family, coaches, and community throughout my life. When looking for a bank to call home, it was easy to choose Midwest Bank. I never feel like just another customer, and they're proud to support their communities. They love what they do, and it shows. Your community, your bank, Midwest Bank.
Hey Nebraska! Register today for the 40th annual Cornhusker State Games, taking place July 11th through the 21st in Lincoln, Omaha, and other Nebraska communities. The Cornhusker State Games features 70 sports for athletes of all ages and abilities. Price increases are approaching, so register early and save. For details, go to cornhuskerstategames.com. Rehydrate, replenish, refuel with Gatorade. Brought to you by Pepsi Cola of Lincoln, a proud partner of the Cornhusker State Games.
Spring sports are here and it's time to upgrade your equipment. But don't go rushing to your big box store. Play It Again Sports is your place to go for all spring sports equipment for baseball, softball, golf, and disc golf. Play It Again Sports has quality, slightly to gently used equipment, and 50% of their inventory is actually new equipment. And don't forget, buying from them is a great way to get new products with great discounts by also bringing in your used items for store credit or cash on the spot. Play It Again Sports at 48th and Vine.
Power Combo BOGO? Huh?
Yes, if you purchase an air conditioner, you receive a furnace completely free. At John Henry's, our professionals want to ensure you are comfortable in your home all year long, no matter what Nebraska has to throw at us. Call today to schedule your free estimate and learn more about the free furnace waiting for you. Give John Henry's a call today.
435-5555. John Henry's Plumbing, Heating and Air.
And electrical.
Bagels and Joe is the perfect place for breakfast or lunch in April. Try their brand new cake batter cream cheese on any breakfast sandwich. And try the caramel latte, as 10% of proceeds from that drink will go to the Foundation for Lincoln Public Schools. 4 locations in Lincoln and 1 in Seward. Bagels and Joe.
Are you looking to get into the electrical construction industry or wanting a new scene? The electrical workers of Local Union 265 are now hiring licensed journeymen and apprentices and are offering great pay and benefits. Call Mike at 402-875-1034 to apply. Start your electrical career today.
Homeowners, is your yard in distress? Is your lawn being held hostage by stubborn and unruly weeds? Never fear, lawn lovers. Weedman is here. We'll rescue your lawn and restore its beautiful emerald green glory. The results of our expertly applied program are sure to impress the toughest of critics, your neighbors. Take that, Dale. Vanquish weeds and transform your lawn this year with Weedman Lawn Care. Get 50% off your first application. Go to weedman.com today. Terms and conditions apply. Go to weedman.com today.
It's officially one of the greatest weeks of the year on the sports calendar, Masters Week. Book your tee time today with friends, family, or coworkers at Double Eagle Golf inside the Kinetic Sports Complex on West O Street. Doors open at 10 a.m. from Thursday to Sunday, and they'll have food directly from Augusta National, like pimento cheese sandwiches, Georgia pecan caramel popcorn, and lots more. Plus specialty drinks to get you in the mood for the greatest golf tournament in the world. Book a bay today at doubleeagle.golf.
School tells you all about the 4 seasons. Spring, summer, and so on. And then there's a way we really tell what time of year it is. Sports seasons, football season, baseball season, or even off season. Well, what's the chocolate season? Well, it's now, of course. And now, and always. Whether you're looking for a caffeinated pick-me-up on the way to work, a little snack on the way home, or you need the perfect gift that's sure to be appreciated. It's time for the chocolate season, y'all. 40th and Old Cheney, or order ahead at thechocolatseason.com. See you there.
Okay, it's time to sell the house. How do we even begin to choose from the hundreds of realtors in town?
Easy. We make a pros list.
You mean a pros and cons list?
No, just a pros list. We need someone with pro photography to showcase the house in the best possible way, pro marketing to make sure we get maximum exposure, pro negotiations so we know we get the best price.
This is one of those times where you already know the right answer, isn't it?
You know it is. Ben Bleicher and Professional Realty Group.
Contact Ben Bleicher and the team at Professional Realty Group of Berkshire Hathaway's Home Services Ambassador. Online at prg-ne.com.
It's the best time of the year to order a new John Deere sprayer during Landmark Implement's Fast Start Early Order program. Leverage the industry's latest technology with See and Spray to target weeds in season in corn and soybeans and use less herbicide per acre. Utilize Exact Apply to save in chemical usage and prevent over-application. Now is the time to lock in the best price of the year during Landmark Implement's Fast Start Early Order program. Contact your local Landmark location for full details and experience the Landmark difference.
Attention all Wings fans. 89-cent wings are back on Tuesdays at Buffalo Wings and Rings in Lincoln. Enjoy the best wings in town for boneless or traditional at a price that makes the whole family happy. And now at the Williamsburg Village Wings and Rings, you can enjoy $1.50 tall boys in Bud Light, Coors Light, Busch Light, and Michelob Ultra every day after 7 p.m. and all day on Sundays. Get to Wings and Rings today and make sure to stop by on Tuesdays for 89-cent wings.
Not many businesses can say they've made it 60 years, but Madsen's Bowling and Billiards can. With 12 bowling lanes and the biggest pool room in Nebraska, where else would you go to enjoy an afternoon or evening? There's a great daily specials like $2 Tuesdays, games of bowling, shoe rentals, draft beers, and tacos, all just $2 each. Have a delicious burger at EJ's Lounge before or after your bowling or pool session, and you'll leave satisfied. Madsen's Bowling and Billiards at 47th and Dudley.
We're still rolling with Union Bank and Trust here on One, normally with DP, but I'm Austin Orman, joined by Brittany and Sarah from Union Bank and Trust. All right, the young adult portion of this conversation. I'm going to take up the bulk of it. That's what we're most familiar with here at 93.7 The Ticket, and we're looking forward to getting this information. Let's start with name, image, and likeness. It's a big deal in the realm of college athletics. We spent most of the last 4 years really talking about this. Is it coming? When's it coming? What's it going to look like? The conversation's always changing. Money, obviously changing hands in a lot of cases, but just generally speaking, Brittany, let's start out with this. Figuring out NIL seems hard enough for the adults in the room.
Yes.
And they have no idea what it is they want to do, what they want to get out of it. I can only imagine being a student athlete, whether it's, just enough to make a living or legitimate, like life-changing, family-changing money, how hard it would be to navigate that, regardless of how good your support system is, but especially if you're on your own in a new place for the first time and you see, 6 figures roll into your bank account. I can't imagine how difficult that would be to handle.
It's a lot, right? This is the Wild West, I think, for all of us. We're still figuring this out, from the university side of things. I think from a financial standpoint, students, we're all in this together in different ways and trying to figure out, how do we support? How do we find support? And so I think a good place, for student athletes to start, is with the university and figuring out, what resources are there in place to help you. That's going to be more centralized than anything. But what I will say, once you do have money coming in, it's really, really important, I think, to have, choosing a team and having somebody on your side to guide you through, because it is complicated. Everything in finance is. So, having, I think, your team of experts, whether that's your banker, a lawyer, a tax professional, you need the whole crew, right? And so I think just finding that group that can be there to support you from lots of different areas is important. And so luckily, I think a bank is a good place to start, making sure that with the money that you have coming in, for one, is it in the right place? For example, like, do you have the right account set up? Are you looking to invest? Or do you have things in savings? What do you want to do with that money? But then also, just from the education piece too, of like, okay, well, you have this money now. What do you want to do with that in the future? How can we help support you through that? Are you looking to spend a lot right now? Do you want to help your family? What's your goal here? How can we help, make sure that this doesn't run out or will last you? And so I think when anybody has money, whether it's your first job or NIL, it's tough to know, okay, am I overspending? What can I do? So there's a lot of resources in place, I would say, at UBT to help student athletes.
And those resources, I can only assume, extend beyond banker. Because when I hear Union Bank, it's, oh, here's where I'm going to put my money. And that's pretty much it. What else in terms of, services and professionals does Union Bank offer to these young adults, maybe navigating it for the first time?
Yeah. And I don't know, Sarah, if you want to chip in too about your thoughts here.
Absolutely. So I would say, at UBT, we obviously have our frontline staff, which would be the banker when you walk into a branch, and they're a great place to start. But as you do start accumulating more wealth and things like that. We have investment professionals. We have professionals that can connect you with a lawyer and a tax professional and get you higher interest rates on your money once you reach a certain level in your accounts and things like that. So we kind of run the gamut from that entry level, I just need a checking and basic savings account, to, okay, I'm starting to kind of build up a cushion here. What are some ways that I can make my money work harder for me? And, we have professionals that run the gamut and can really help you make good long-term financial decisions.
Obviously, it's Union Bank and trust. I feel like when I hear trust, it's the kind of metaphysical concept. I'm assuming when it's trust, you actually mean the financial aspect of trust. But how important is it, for Union Bank? I mean, I feel like in banking, like, your name is your destiny, right? If people don't trust you, they're not going to come to you with your money. So, Sarah, we'll start with you again, then back to you, Brittany. Like, how important is it for you at Union Bank to provide all these different people that you trust for the student athletes and young adults to be able to trust as well?
Well, I think, it kind of goes back to the point that, NIL is the wild, wild west right now. And I don't think student athletes are getting a lot of direction and support and help. And so, obviously being in the financial sector, we want to make sure that we're taking care of them and setting them up well for their future. And we want to make sure, that they are working with a tax professional, that they're not getting, something that should be fun and exciting that they've worked so hard for to earn should not be something that eventually, as Brittany put it earlier, makes a little money problem a big money problem. That's just, we're very adamant about wanting to make sure that you have your team of experts aligned and that you're taken care of. Like at the bank, we will make sure that you're taken care of.
And and as a financial educator, a lot of times I would say that I'm in that role of translator too, and also just trying to make complex financial topics or concepts just a little bit more digestible, a little bit easier to understand. So, for example, if you have NIL money today, how could that grow for you, in a few years? So I'm like, okay, you have $5 in Starbucks. So you put that away, you could have $282,000, in 40 years if you put $100 a month that you would put towards, eating out at Starbucks every day. So I think like putting it in examples that are relevant and student friendly, but trying to make it a little bit more accessible and easier to understand. But education again is so important. And so I like to be that kind of connector piece at UBT too, just being out in the community. And so while I might not be able to set you up with the account, I'm going to be able to connect you to somebody who can. And so I enjoy working with youth and young adults and just kind of hearing what they need support with so I can kind of be that connective tissue.
I think there are two sides to this conversation. We'll start with the positive aspect. What are the skills that with the young adults that you work with most often, what do they typically have a better grasp on in terms of financial literacy and your kind of core tenets?
Oh gosh, you know what? I would say just bigger picture stuff. I feel like Gen Z has experienced a lot of bad in their lifetime. The financial crisis when they were kids to COVID and just economic downturns. And so I feel like they've seen, their families struggle. And so I feel like what I appreciate about Gen Z is that they don't take things for face value and they question absolutely everything and in the best possible way. I mean, truly they want to understand money. They're good at saving. They're good about figuring out, okay, well, I vote with my dollars. How do I want to, what can I buy that's sustainable, or what can I buy that's going to support what I'm interested in? And so I really appreciate just that conscientiousness of Gen Z. And so I would say I would start with that they just have this hunger to learn because they want to, I think, move the needle and be in a better financial position than I think a lot of others in their family were. And so I think that's just being hungry for the knowledge is a good starting point when it comes to personal finance. One thing that I think is interesting, though, is I do see younger adults, I think, being more suspicious of credit, and rightfully so, right? It used to be given out like candy, right? Like sign up for a credit card, you get a free T-shirt, at orientation. And so luckily we're moving, I think a lot of financial institutions are kind of moving away from that. But I think that there's still a lot of misconceptions around credit. And so Gen Z tends to be suspicious of it. And so I think it's a lot of like debunking rumors and bad information. And I think so that's one piece I would say that we're always trying to grow is like you need credit. So here's how we can talk about that.
I want to get back to that conversation because even myself, like I know I have good credit score. I have no idea what goes into it.
Yeah.
Right. You know, so I definitely want to get back to that. But then you look at like the hands-on day-to-day skills. If they're good in the big picture, what are some of those day-to-day kind of hands-on skills that you have to teach young adults most often?
Gosh, I would say usually when I'm talking with young adults, I say, what's working well for you in your life right now? Not even money related. What are things that you do really well? They're like, I don't know. I show up on time. I do these things. I was like, what aspects of that can you bring into your financial health? Do that more and just do it up more often. And, and the same kind of things apply, right? Like if you're an organized person, that's great. That carries through to your finances. And so, gosh, I would say that like thinking of those habits is a good starting point. But I don't know, like when it comes to credit,
I can add something. So I would say too, some things that we see with young people is that they weren't an active participant in opening their first like checking and savings accounts. A lot of the times their parents just did it for them and started either like putting money in there, whether it's like birthday money or chores money or whatever. And so they know that they have these things, like they're aware of them, but they don't know how they work. And so when they get to be, a young adult, college age, they might still not have the fundamental just foundation of how do I move money between my savings and checking account? Like just kind of those basic things. How do I set up a direct deposit for my first job? So I think that building upon the things that maybe their parents did for them and teaching them how to manage it themselves would be a key thing.
Another thing that I see too is that younger people are using a lot more fintech companies, so like peer-to-peer payment platforms than ever before, and they don't understand how that's different from a bank. And
Are you talking about like PayPal, Venmo?
Yes, like the PayPal, Venmo, Cash App, Chime. And I think that those have a space, but not for managing your money. I feel like it's truly like moving money, among friends, pizza money, that kind of stuff, right? But it's concerning to me that I'm seeing more and more young people keep significant amounts of cash in these peer-to-peer payment platforms. And so I think there's a lot of education around like they're not banks. And then also too, like they're not secure, that's really important. Like if you want to establish a financial history, if you want to take out a loan, even if you're not thinking about that now, but if you want to buy a car, buy a house, we're not going to look at your Venmo transactions to see if you have, proof of income or what your expenses are.
But I paid rent on time every month. I'm good.
Right. Yeah. And so there's just been a lot of education on how to navigate using just using a checking and savings account, like Sarah had mentioned, just some of those key foundational things.
It sounds like a double-edged sword too, where not only is it less secure, you're also not earning any interest and not doing anything for you. It's just sitting there waiting for someone to reach their grubby little hand in, right?
Oh, exactly. Yeah. You don't earn interest. The other thing too is that, it's not secure. It's not FDIC insured. And so, unfortunately, we talk about students who left their phone out, in a public place or at a party, and somebody took their phone and was able to completely drain all of their accounts. And so that's really scary. And so luckily, with a bank, at least we have that insurance. And so I do a lot of education around that.
Let's jump into credit here quick. I think that's a good time for this conversation. My understanding is that a debit card and a credit card are not inherently good or bad, but they all have their positives and negatives. At UBT, are you pro debit, pro credit, balance? What's your approach to debit and or credit cards?
Yeah, I think, I think explaining the difference between the two quickly, I tell people you swipe your debit card, what happens to the money in your checking account? And they're like, well, it goes down. It's like my money is gone. I was like, yeah, exactly. Right. And like the money that you have in your checking account is kind of what you have to spend. And so with credit, on the other hand, I mean, they both look the same. They're plastic cards, but like with credit, I'm like, nothing happens to your checking account right there and then in the moment. Essentially, you get an IOU and the bank pays for that right there and then in the moment. And you get a bill at the end of the month saying, okay, this is all the stuff that you bought. Now you have to pay that back, usually within 30 days, or it's going to, have interest and late fees on top of that if you don't pay it on time. So I think just explaining just on the back end how that works, like essentially credit card, when you use a credit card, it's like taking out a loan. And so, yes, it's not neither good or bad. It's just kind of how you're using it. And so, I tend to be pro credit card in a lot of ways, just because there's some security with that I appreciate. If it's your card is lost, you don't receive goods or services, you get that money back. So there's a lot of protections in place. Plus, you earn rewards where with your debit card you don't. And so, a debit card, I think we need both. But using a credit card, at least you can build credit in that way, where a debit card you can't. And so, I feel like that's kind of where my starting point, I think, with students.
What is a bigger issue for students? Is it that they're overspending with their credit card because they don't see the money go, or is it that they're maybe not spending enough and not maybe maximizing their return on their rewards potentially?
Yeah, I think that it's a mix of both. I think that students have to learn how to use a credit card and not overspend on it, which goes back to budgeting. So it's not free money. You don't just swipe away and then I'll figure it out later. That's not a good approach. And so I'm like, you have to keep track of your expenses, throughout the month to make sure you aren't overspending. So I really talk about having like a secured card. And that's a product like UBT offers, where you kind of bring in your own deposit and you're able to borrow from that. So it's a lower limit and you're borrowing from your own funds essentially. So it's a good way to kind of dip your toe in the water without, using the bank's money. It's your own money. And so it's a good way to kind of practice and get used to using credit. And so I think afterwards, for those that get the hang of it, then I'm like, let's dig into rewards. Are you getting what you need out of a card? Look at your spending. Can you be earning rewards on, all the eating out that you're doing, So everybody's kind of coming from a different place. But I think for a lot of college students, it's just getting used to using a credit card.
How easy is it to sign up for one of those through Union Bank? Pretty easy?
Yeah, I would say so. We have student cards as well. We have some good products here at the university. If you're a student, for like checking accounts and savings accounts, which is great. Our card that we have for Union Bank, I think, is 1% cash back. But a secured card, yeah, it is a great product. You do have to go into a branch to open it, but I really recommend that for students. There's other cards that are out there too in the marketplace, but I do like a secured card just for any young person. It's a good way to practice.
Walking into a branch might be scary, but I know you guys are all over town. So there's plenty of opportunities, plenty of places for people to walk in. And my few experiences with you have been great. Super easy to talk to, super understanding. Like you guys mentioned, having those real world experiences. You guys are there to walk people through it, especially if it's the first time. But to wrap up this segment, let's just talk about the importance of having good credit.
Oh, yeah.
Why is it important? How do you build good credit? What's the benefit of it?
Yes. So good credit, it matters so much. It's going to determine, if somebody will lend to you and the interest rate that you're going to pay. And so that's going to potentially, good credit can save you thousands of dollars over the life of a loan. So it's really important. It's a good barometer of your financial health and something to stay on top of. But essentially what goes into a credit score, it's on a scale of 300 to 850. And I would say that there's 5 factors that play into your credit score. So the higher your score, the better. We want to shoot for high. But how much you spend on your available limit. So that's one area. So for example, if you have $1,000 limit on your card, you really only want to be putting like 30% or less. Even better might be 10% or less on that card. So say like $300 or $100. Keeping that utilization rate low. Also paying your bill on time and in full. That's one of the best things that you can do for your credit score. Other things that kind of play into that too are your credit history. So that's why young people just tend to have a lower credit score than older people. They just haven't had as much time to build up their credit history. Also inquiries. That's really important. So anytime that you're out shopping and they're like, you want to save 15% and open, XYZ card? Say no, you don't need that. It's not worth a hit to your credit score and your credit report. So it stays on there for 2 years every time that you apply for credit. And so I think that, only apply for credit when you need it. So that does factor in. And then also credit mix. If you actually have a mix of credit cards and loans, student loans too count for that. That can actually help your credit score. So those are kind of the main things that go into your score. But really, you're kind of playing a long-term game. There's no quick fixes. You're not going to have a super high credit score overnight. It just takes time and good, healthy habits of paying your bill on time and in full. That's the best thing that you can do.
Do you see a lot of young people really trying to I don't say get rich fast, but get out of debt fast or get it all back at once. Like, how do you try to teach that patience that might be hard for young adults that maybe don't, have that base of what it means to think big picture and long term in terms of finances?
Oh, sure. Yeah. I think when it comes to debt, especially, debt can be a good thing. And so I talk to folks, I'm like, well, debt can help you buy assets. Like, for example, your education. That's something that's so valuable in your life. A vehicle, a house. I mean, these are things that help you to build wealth. And so I think not all debt is bad. Maybe just a whole bunch of consumer debt, sure. But we talk about the differences between that. And so also, with debt, we talk about, okay, what can you afford each month? What makes sense? So yeah, it's something that should be carefully considered. But I think in the long-term game, you have to think of, I always tell people, like, think of your old lady self or your old man self. And, like these things, it can take a long time. You might be paying on a loan for 5 years, or with a house up to 30 years. So it is something to consider carefully.
Brittany and Sarah from Union Bank and Trust are with us here on One-on-One, normally with DP, but I'm Austin Norman. Let's take one more break here on the show, talk about budgeting, and wrap up One-on-One when we get back.
Where will your path take you, traveler? To seek fortune in a new career? Or on a journey to distant lands for a well-deserved vacation? Wherever you go, one distraction could spell disaster. You can change your fate, adventurer. Don't drive distracted. Paid for by the NDOT Highway Safety Office.
If you're a homeowner or a business owner, you have a lot of projects, and no one has an unlimited budget or time. Sunbelt Rentals makes all jobs less stressful with no need to purchase large equipment or hire a crew. You can do it yourself with rentals and everything from aerators and power rakes for spring yard work to stump grinders, concrete mixers, tile saws, and more. Check out their inventory in Lincoln, north of Cornhusker Highway on 56th Street, or online at sunbeltrentals.com.
Hey, Husker Nation, Matt Davison here with 1890. It's an exciting time to be a Husker fan, and to keep that momentum going, we need your help. Nebraska's always been a leader in college athletics, and we're doing the same through name, image, and likeness. NIL is a unique opportunity for every Husker fan to have a direct impact on the success of our programs. Through 1890, 100% of your contribution goes to the student athletes. So go to 1890nebraska.com, choose your sport, become a member, and help the Huskers recruit and retain the best. Go Big Red.
Go Hog Wild Pit Barbecue.
If the week's been too hectic to even think about dinner, or your family can't handle one more night of leftovers, then it's time to let Hog Wild do the cooking. Hog Wild's family packs are one heck of a good deal for a complete barbecue meal loaded with all the smoked meats, tasty sides, buns, and sauces you need to feed your family. Order online at GoHogWild.com. Hog Wild Pit Barbecue, 3210 Cornhusker Highway in Lincoln.
But don't be late, we close at 8.
The need in our community, if you just look at the numbers, it's frightening. We're serving over 1,000 kids every day. With the passion of our people, I really feel like our potential to be of even greater service to kids and families who are struggling is just unlimited. But in order to have the greatest impact, we need all the help we can get from the community.
NEBCO is hiring CDL drivers for Ready Mixed Concrete, Husker Concrete, and Beatrice Concrete. NEBCO offers great pay, medical and retirement benefits, paid time off, and they pay for CDL training. Apply today and start your new career with a $2,500 hiring bonus. From NEBCO's beginning in 1908, it's the employees that have formed the company's solid foundation. Start your career today. Visit nebcoinc.com. That's NEBCOINC.com.
Sandhills Global is hiring. With their fast-paced, growing culture, they have hundreds of new openings in sales, marketing, traveling support, software development, web design, and more. Full-time roles offer a 4.5-day work week, along with flexible internships in most areas. Career and internship opportunities are available at our global headquarters in Lincoln, Nebraska. Find your fit today at www.sandhills.jobs.
This is Coach Bill Bush. You all know my passion for Nebraska. Having coached all over the country, I can honestly say there is no place like Nebraska. You know where there's also no place like? Midwest Bank. Midwest Bank has proudly served Nebraska for over 70 years, and they're located in 9 different communities. Midwest Bank is ready, willing, and able to meet all your personal, business, and agriculture needs. Your community, your bank, and mine, Midwest Bank. Find out more at Midwest Bank. Member FDIC.
Your business runs like a well-oiled machine. It's important that your actual machines do too. Stern is here to make sure you don't have to worry about that. They provide solutions for heavy equipment and automotive fuels, lubricants, and equipment guard options. And with Stern's commitment to customer service for the past 40 years, you know you have a partner to help support your operations for years to come. Contact Roger at Stern Company by calling 1-800-477-2744 or visit them online at stern.co. Stern Company, where problems meet solvers.
The Mill Coffee and Tea, formerly with only 4 Lincoln locations. Guess what?
What?
There's 5 Lincoln locations now. Oh my gosh. That's 25% more Lincoln locations than there used to be. Can you even imagine a world where there's only 4 Lincoln Mill locations? Feels like ages ago. We were all so young then. The Mill on 11th, located right alongside 93.7 The Ticket Studios, 1040 O Street.
Hey guys, it's Bill Bush. Next Ag Appraisal and Realty has opened a new location in Pender, Nebraska, in addition to their office in Lincoln. The real estate world can be confusing, so why wouldn't you want an expert helping you every step of the way? If you're looking to buy or sell farmland in Nebraska, Kansas, or Iowa, give Ethan Sorensen a call today at 402-380-0432 or visit them online at nextagrealestate.com. Next Ag Appraisal and Realty with locations in Lincoln and now Pender, Nebraska.
Back one final time here on One-on-One with DP. Haven't heard him. He's in Atlanta with Rico. Supernovas action tomorrow night here on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Here with Brittany and Sarah from Union Bank and Trust. And ladies, one thing that hasn't been explicitly mentioned, I think is going to be important to hit here, is that my takeaway from these conversations is that there's a lot in the financial realm, a lot for people to learn. It's okay to not know everything, ask a lot of questions, but you're not one size fits all. It sounds like Union Bank's approach to banking financial literacy is, I don't know, personalizable, maybe just personal, customizable. It seems like you guys make an effort to meet people where they're at. Is that a fair characterization?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Yeah, I think that, everybody's money story is different and your level of knowledge about money is going to be really different. So your solution and your questions are going to be different, right? So I think that, yes, that's what I appreciate, about UBT is that we're willing to help anybody meet them where they're at, truly. So no money questions are stupid or too big, too small. And what I also appreciate about UBT too is that we have so many experts. And so I'm not always the expert on all things financial literacy. If I need to make a referral or connect somebody to somebody else, somebody has the answer, which is good, even if it's not me. And I would say that that's true about everybody here at UBT.
Yeah, for sure. I would say, we love it when somebody comes in and allows us to walk that journey with them. Mm-hmm. We want to be a partner in that journey, and we want to make sure that we're helping to customize the solution that's going to help you with your long-term goals, your long-term plan.
I think it's important to mention that, some people have that base, some people don't have that base. So there are situations too where you guys at Union Bank are the resource. Like, you are the trusted people for them to go to. But how important is it for parents to take financial literacy seriously and maybe not, pile all the troubles or all the issues on the kids, but to make sure that they're involved some way, in the family finances, to maybe a sense of ownership almost in the family? Is that fair?
Kids need to know that money has value. I think that that's one of the biggest things too is, you don't want money to seem like a negative concept to a child. Like, if you are having some struggles or some, some money problems. You don't want it to always be a negative thing to a child. And also teaching them, if you do use a credit card to get rewards, that you can't just swipe a card to pay for whatever you want. So I think that, setting that foundation, parents, grandparents, setting that foundation for their children is really vital.
Definitely. I think like even just, modeling what you're doing and explaining what you're doing. If you're making a decision or trying to choose, between, one product or another, or you're out shopping and it's like, well, we want this, but maybe not that. And here's kind of why. I think like walking through your thought process can be really powerful. I think that, children are always listening. They're a sponge, I think, to everything that we're doing. And so I think, walking through even like your insurance documents and all the boring stuff, right? But
insurance sucks.
Yeah.
It's important, but it sucks.
Yes, yeah. And, walk through these things and, being more, I think, transparent and open, of course, to your comfort level. But I think that kids want to know, what are you doing? I want to listen in on this.
That's incredible. We are up against it here. Brittany and Sarah, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your knowledge, your information, your willingness to talk. Maybe we could do it again in the future. This is great.
That'd be great.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
I'll put a bow on one here. Thanks for tuning in. More Ticket Weeknights next. If not, we'll flip you over to the Kansas City Royals. Thanks for listening. Have a great weekend.
Garage doors can be expensive. Are you keeping yours in the best condition possible?